we bought it from a really cool drummer who was selling all his sound panels.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
cool.
super tall. They're really good for the studio. So I'm like, all right, yeah. Send
Yeah,
those
it's plush.
All right, we should be going. We should be
Okay,
good.
cool.
We live.
We're live.
Share
Okay.
on my YouTube that we're live. 1 second.
Oh, cool. Super tall. They're really yeah.
Okay, cool.
Direct.
Is that action, Bram?
Yeah, we're action. We good.
Okay. I'll just get it started then. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Process Live. My name is Kristen. This podcast is actually an offshoot of our docuseries Process. It's the show that we started that follows creative talents from music production all the way into like puppet fabrication and creature effects and filmmaking. Just everything across the creative industry and everything in between. So you could watch episodes of Process right here on FarcydeTV.com. So be sure to check out the show. I promise you won't be disappointed. One quick announcement, the full episode of Process, episode 2, which features Bootie Brown, will air tomorrow at some point on Pharcyde TV YouTube. And so today I'm excited to welcome my guests, Bootie Brown, Amy Correa Bell, and Les Correa. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Yo.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Great. So I want to kick this off in a certain way. You know, being a filmmaker and especially being a documentarian, I'm often interested in people's origin stories, you know, the early start of their career. And I actually think most people are interested in that kind of thing. They want to know how people got their start, what helped them get to where they are today. And, you know, more specifically for the purposes of this episode of Process Live, how you all got your start producing music. So Les, if you don't mind kicking us off a little bit, like just talking about, just give us like a brief snapshot of how you started, and then Amy and Brown, you guys just like pitch in after that.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Definitely. I would say just record collecting is what got me started. You know, my brother and I, we had a 45 player as children, and we had tape decks, and we'd record each other, and we'd record records and record the radio, and that led to you know, in the 80s, like the mid 80s, my brother Eddie got a couple of turntables, Technique turntables, and we just started scouring the thrift stores for records, and so we started DJing. So really, it was the DJ culture in the 80s that got us started. We were into hip hop, we were into new wave and punk and metal and all those cool things, and so we just went out and bought records that we didn't know about. A lot of funk records, a lot of jazz, a lot of just whatever we could get our hands on, and there was plenty back then. So we had a list of thrift stores that we tore out of the yellow pages, and we hit every one of those up. Yeah. And then
the yellow pages, shout out to the yellow pages.
It might have been the white pages actually, but I just looked up thrift stores. I'm like, okay, let's hit every one of these up. And of course, you know, you'd find equipment, and, you know, I'd find like the odd drum machine here and there. And eventually, you know, we got microphones, and then I got a sampler. I got a Mirage and Sonic Mirage sampler, and we had a Newmark mixer. So I would sample records and loop them. And I think that was my start to production. And I would do that so we could all freestyle and rap, because that's what we do. It's, you know, sit in the garage and loop a beat, and then, you know, make each other laugh with our raps and see who was better.
Awesome.
And yeah, so that led to, I actually started off as an MC, as a lot of people don't know. And then that led
MC Threat. Right?
Yeah, MC Threat. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, in the Bay Area I was known as DJ Moss, and I also rapped and DJed. But anyways, getting ahead of myself, that led to like once I got the sampler and I started picking up more keyboards, M1, Korg M1, MPC 2000 XL, Korg Triton, and just random keyboards that I just picked up, and I just started actually producing beats and learning how to record, and that, you know, into the 90s and in the 2000s, that just became what I did. And I got really into recording on Pro Tools, and my brother and I both got our certification early on with Pro Tools. So we just got really good at, you know, yeah, just recording audio, recording our friends and recording clients. And yeah, that, and then I opened up my own studio, and, you know, was recording out of my garage from there. And yeah, it just became everything to me. Like, and then now that's kind of led to, you know, the DJing, and I'm still DJing, and I'm still collecting records, and I'm still, you know, just on a much bigger scale producing. And yeah, that's pretty much the origin story, I would say.
No kidding. That's awesome. It sounds like you've had just a consistent line straight to today, you know, whereas some people, like, they start out collecting and then a different path, you know, they take a different path and then they wind up back at it, or, you know, sort of like it's the thing about the music is that, you know, in producing music, I think especially, is like, if that's what you're supposed to be doing, it sort of like won't leave you alone. So you could try and go do something else, you know, but it's always going to be like nagging at you, you know, to get back to it. So
not to say I did try other things. Like, I tried working the 9 to 5, and I actually did it for 10 years. And, you know, it just ended up making me depressed and, you know, and sad and angry and all the bad things. And I was like, you know, it's time for me to, like,
pursue your dreams.
Yeah, and so that's what I've been doing past 4 or 5 years, and
right,
you know,
on.
Yeah,
There's no better time than now to do that. So,
right.
you know, yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Amy? And you're brother and sister, so obviously there's some influence, and you guys influence each other. But go ahead and go on into it.
I have a question, because you said, what was your introduction into production? So is that still the question for me, or is it, what is my introduction into music? Like,
yeah, I think, I mean, it's just sort of like what puts you where you are now, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, obviously I wasn't the, like, planned baby. I came much later. So when I was born, my brothers were like, what were you guys, like 10 and 11?
Yeah.
And then, so, you know, when I was like 5, they're teenagers. So by the time I was like 7, they were, I have 2 brothers that are DJs. So they were both DJing at the house, inviting their friends over who were like rapping, break dancing, and they were always playing records. So I think I was exposed to music at such a young age, and like really good music. You know, 80s babies are the best, because like we just got all of that good music soaked in us since we were born. And because they were much older than me, like I didn't really have anyone to play with. So like I would always just play pretend and like make songs and like try to copy them. So I got like a cassette thing, and I would like record myself, like make up songs. And then he started teaching me songs to rap at the parties to like show off to the girls, you know? So the only way I could get everybody's attention in my household was to like give them a show. Because my parents were they had their hands full with my brothers. They were like bad boys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're
right.
Getting in trouble all the time. So it was like all about them. So I had to be like, hey, everybody, like we're doing a show. And I'd like sing. So I think I seeing them laugh and get entertained by me really made me want to do that. And my first introduction into just the entertainment industry was acting. Like I started at 11 years old. I wanted to do it so bad. I was just like an extra. I think it was like in Meteor Man, because they were filming it down the street. I met somebody, but that led to like acting classes, to a manager, and I ended up booking a bunch of stuff. You know, I think like my first gigs were like I did a modeling campaign for Universal Studios. You know, the pamphlet when I was.
Oh, no kidding. All right.
Yeah. And then I did like
cool.
a Burger King commercial at 13. But what really led me to music was because I had auditions all the time. I got into SAG. I think when I was like 17, there was an audition for a girl group being put together by MCA, like a pop group. and they had chosen girls from all over Boston, Minnesota, but they were looking for an urban girl that could sing and dance. So
Okay.
I actually was like, I love music, but I don't know, like, because I definitely worked on like musical theater in like junior high, and did everything that had to do with the arts. I was like into it, but I wasn't sure if that was gonna like mess up with my whole acting vibe. So I was like, I don't know, but I auditioned for it anyways, got it, and then I wasn't the lead singer, so like, long story short, the lead singers were so good and we were all so competitive. One of the producers was like, you know what? The money's in the writing. He's like, let me tell you this, like, just do your best, do all the harmonies, but write. Like, so when we're here, get here early and like start writing. I was like, okay, cool. So I really like fought my way, and I really learned how to write more professionally, like, verse, B section, hook, like kind of the foundation.
Yeah.
But fast forward to today, I mean, that was like 4 or 5 years of my life. I ended up being in like 3 other bands since then. Okay, we're on a stream.
Hi, everybody.
That's too funny.
I'm surprised my kids aren't like crawling all over the background. It's real life,
That was too funny. Long story short, I was in a few bands since then. Like, I got into punk music after that. I did a band with my other brother and my friend Sterling called craze.com. Then I did a Hello Girls band. I sang backup and toured with this group called Hot Natured, which was cool. Then I did Sterling and Amy, and then everyone was just like, dude, when are you gonna go solo, Amy? What's the problem? I was like, okay. And that took about 2 years for me to like get the courage to like break up with, the people I was working with. It's really hard.
It's crazy that you say courage, because when you watch you and everything that you do, that's all I think. That's all I think is like, look at this person that's like just out there. And it's not just like, oh, that's a nice song that you released. It's like every other week, there's like something new. Here's a music video. Like, here's what's coming next. Like, you guys are so good at like teasing out and just having the next thing like locked and loaded and ready, and ready to move. So it's great that you wound up saying, all right, I'm in. I'm gonna go in and go solo. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, my brothers had a big influence on me, and just a lot of people close to me that saw me live just were like, man, you really got something. And I've had people tell me that over the years, but when you're in a group, you get used to like depending on other people and having that support. But as a solo artist, it's like I'm actually getting to still work with people. So
That's cool.
When I perform live, I get to work with my friends that play instruments, and I still get to collab with awesome people like Bootie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this would happen if I didn't have the courage like to do that, or like the influence of my brothers with what they, introduced me to like at such a young age. So yeah, I'm stoked.
That's awesome. All right, Brown, we really like know an awful lot about you, but just give us a little snapshot.
I want to know more.
And if you don't know, tune in, once again tomorrow. The full episode drops tomorrow.
Oh, no.
I'm not gonna, I think I'm not gonna say just too much, but it's all, I say this whole music thing is actually like unplanned and still learning. So, I mean, if I just start, I don't know. I mean, I guess where it start, I mean, my mom's a big influence. I guess everybody have, somebody in their family. I guess my mom in a way of like the way that she introduced music. And then I would say my father, from having the record collection that I couldn't touch. also being influential because it just made me want to listen so much to music. And I think that contrast kind of made the situation, because it was like my mom made it available, but my dad kind of made the quest like a little bit hot for me. So
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a cool approach for sure. That because you couldn't do it, it made you want to do it even more, or at least like,
exactly. It's like, like when you don't, like, somebody say, don't do that. And then that's like, what do you want to do? Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Don't touch that fire. The fire is going to burn. And then so you touch the fire, then you're like, oh, yeah, it does burn. And so, but you still wouldn't touch the fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like how the
Yeah.
situation for me was. Yeah.
all
And
right.
then this show.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so part of this conversation, the name of the show even is, music and money. There's a couple of clips that I want to show from Brown's episode of Process. One of those, kind of reviews a little bit of the origin story, at least Brown, what you were mentioning in, during our interview for episode 2. There's this origin story where you were like talking about the blackout of 1977, and Pippin, can you run that clip? So we could just check it out, and then we'll chat after that.
Why hip hop came was there's a blackout in the Bronx. And during that blackout, everybody robbed all these places. So people looted the sound. That's how people got speakers and turntables to just go out into the parks and start this whole different movement. When I was in elementary school, you could go lease out a saxophone or a bass or something like that. By the time I got into high school, those programs wasn't there no more. That's where the necessity came out, because I feel like hip hop, just the records and how people took records and sampled them. You had the music inside of you, just maybe not knew what to do and how to play the instruments or whatever it was. I think it's actually like a history lesson too, because like when people started sampling records, it made people go back like, oh, you sampled this rock record, or you sampled this. And so like people started going back to find out who these groups were and stuff like that.
So, okay. So we're back on, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully everybody was able to watch and hear that, right? That was the first time
Oh,
we've
yeah.
done that. So,
Yeah.
so all right. So there's this clip, it just has this like, it shows, first of all, this perspective, this historical snapshot. It, to me, shows just perseverance. It's like the lack of access doesn't get in people's way of like, we want to be doing this, so we're going to find a way no matter what. What's interesting to me is like, the historical perspective that we have, of people finding this way to make the music that they want, that moves them, that speaks to them, all that, take that and fast forward to now. Hip hop is a huge business. It started out, like Brown said, like in the parks, and kids were just put, like you were saying, Les, you just bought records and you put things together and you were rapping over them to have fun. And after a while it started getting really good, and so the shift from this historical aspect to now, you know, right now we're celebrating what, 50 years of hip hop, and it's a huge business. Certainly some labels have benefited, you know, from a variety of talent. We could just name people for days. I'm interested again in each of your perspective, because when I interviewed Brown, my perspective of the record industry was very, probably extremely naive, maybe not like most, maybe a little more than most people, but I came from the assumption of, you know, if you're lucky enough to get signed, they give you a pile of money, you get to go out and make your music. You don't get to keep the music, obviously, in your name, because you did that as a service for them. They gave you money, you know, and then if it goes well, they give you more money. I mean, it's very a very basic black and white way of like thinking about how the industry is. And don't get me wrong, it's like, of course, you know, that there's like, you know, nasty stuff that happens behind the scenes, and there's things that aren't right. But for the most part, that was my assumption, was that it wasn't, you know, what I think I've, you know, heard from so many other people lately. If you guys could just sort of, and it doesn't, you don't have to share like personal stories necessarily, but just sort of what you know about the industry and record labels in getting deals versus turning deals down, or staying indie because you know that you're going to be able to make the music that you're going to want. Like, just sort of take it away. Amy, I don't know if you want to start us off, or if somebody wants to jump in.
I could start us out. I want to start out by saying I don't think having a record deal or all record labels are bad. Because I know, like, in general, like a lot of people, because of the rise of independent artists, there's kind of a perspective that like you don't need a record deal. And, you know, I'm an independent artist myself at the moment, but I've had a record deal, and I feel like there's pros and cons for both. But, you know, it's like when you're going to take a loan out, you know, like if I was going to get an investor for my music for like 150K, you know, basically with a record deal, it's like I just have to give that 150K back off the top before anything comes to me, you know. And with the rise of like social media and being able to connect directly to fans, you can kind of leverage like your deal now, you know, have labels kind of have a bidding war over you if you're like viral and if you have like a good fan base. So, you know, it's kind of like I'm always teeter-tottering, like I'm happy to be independent because I own my masters. I have my own record label, and I'm able to work with people that I hire, that I like, and that I'm a fan of. And I'm slowly able to connect with my audience day by day and building my fan base daily. But, you know, is there times that I like wish, you know, I love record labels like Ninja Tune and like Bayonet, like they work with artists that are probably started out in Bandcamp, but we're doing really dope live shows, and now they're like on huge tours. So sometimes I'm like, there are some record labels that have really dope tastes in artists, and I love how they're marketing the artists. And it would be nice to have that support, you know, because right now it's like my brother and I are running a label and hiring like people to do administrative stuff or different things, marketing, you know, from time to time. And it's hard because basically what I do for my acting and modeling is funding that, you know, so I'm kind of like investing in my own. So, you know, I know that there are some really bad record deals still being given out, and they're still like, hey, you know, sign this and do A, B, and C, and you're going to be from, you know, 10 monthly listeners to like 40 million monthly listeners, and you'll be performing at, you know, the Grammys by this time and this time. There are, you know, there are opportunities like that, you know, but I don't know necessarily that those are always like the right way. But I just think that in general, like everybody views record deals, it's like either that or nothing. But that's why I wanted to bring smaller like labels that are really dope, that are doing cool things. Cause I think there is some cool labels. Like if they understand who you are and respect who you are as an artist, you can leverage certain things, you know? So I don't think it's totally a bad idea. Cause like, you know, with a record label, I feel like you can get opportunities you wouldn't get being independent, you know, like connections and relationships, you know. So I'm still, you know, I'm curious to hear what Brown thinks, because you know, this topic is something I'm super interested in and I'm always thinking about.
Yeah, I think, you know, I kind of look at a lot of people when they say the thing, and then somebody said it's the deal. Like basically it's not the company, but it's the actual deal that you sign. But I mean, it's kind of tricky because at the same time, when you sign with the company, unfortunately, like just experience throughout the years, like the person that may have brought you on may not be the person that's there in the end, or that's there all the way through your process. So when you're there, like it starts off gravy, it starts off hype, because like you have that support, that person's behind you, they're like pushing you, they're making sure that, you know, if you're not getting heard, like they're making sure that you're getting heard. And like that's when you work for a company, like having somebody on the inside that's fighting for you is like super important. But I mean, in today's climate, things just shift so fast. So it's like you could be there for a year. Let's say you're there 5 years, and like you can see like a staff change of like 5 times while you're there. You know what I'm saying? Because the record label could say, "Oh, we're trying to keep up with what's hot." Like, and like every time they shift another person in, this other person has this other perspective. So I've seen this guy from Enterprise. Is it Enterprise? They're up in the Bay Area. I think that's what it's called. It's a distribution, and they were like basically saying like nobody over 30 should even rhyme, or just like in today's climate be trying to make music. And this is like the A&R, you know what I'm saying? So it's like if you have an A&R that's feeling that way, like let's say like you have somebody that's cool, like I said, they're cool, they're all for you, and then somebody come in like that saying like, hey, nobody over 30, like they're not gonna push whatever you're doing, because they just feel like you don't belong there. So it gets tricky as far as just being in the space where people are kind of in control of your situation, no matter what the deal is. But I mean, there's so many different ways, because people say, oh, like this person's independent and this person doing it. And I think basically it all, if you want to do anything, it's like the inner team. Like your inner team has to shine so hard, and then that basically will leverage you to get the deal that you probably want. But like when you don't have the team and your numbers are just kind of whatever, like it's going to seem like you're begging. It's going to seem like you're asking for a handout. You know what I'm saying? But if you got the team there, and your team like, okay, I got my person that does videos, I got my producer, I got my marketing team, like all that is there, like the record label is going to buy you as a package, and then your deal comes a little bit, like I said, you can leverage a little bit more. So it's the labels are going to be the labels, but it's the deal. It's like what kind of deal do you want now? You're going to have to compromise if you're trying to look for, you're like, hey, this is what I got. And they're going to be like, okay, well, this is what we can give you. Like, and so that's, you know, you're going to have to compromise. But yeah, for me right now, I can't see myself doing a label. I mean, doing the deal, because the only one that makes sense really, like people hate them, but like the 360 deal makes the most obvious sense if you're going to sign, because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to concentrate on the music and concentrate on getting the making the money back. Whereas like you're trying to section off different things or keep certain things or whatever, like, you know, you're just going to have to work hard to just pay that whole thing back and just get out, you know. Hopefully if your deal is for the amount of money that a lot of people do their 360 deals, then you're like, hey, you know what, I could survive for a little bit, you know. So I think it's just the art of the deal, what you would want to get, you know.
Right on. Yeah. You know, kind of one of the things that stands out to me is I just wonder if it was sort of like the way that things were in the 90s that made things just such a challenge, that made life for artists just such a challenge that I don't know if that sort of thing is still being, you know, like if deals are still being packaged like that. Because it seems to me like back then, and especially when you have super young artists, you know, hip hop artists that are, you know, working hard, doing a thing, and then it's just sort of like you put like a piece of paper in front of them, and it's like, you know, if they're super young, they just want to sign and be able to do their thing, but that winds up, you know, turning into something else, or they take advantage. So, you know, I don't know what you guys are seeing, if you're seeing, you know, things that are just, they seem to be a little bit more open nowadays compared to the 90s, or if it's still kind of nefarious. And like you said, Brown, it's like, it depends on the deal. You know, that's definitely the better way to put it than, you know, what I was sort of saying, like, you know, labels are bad or working independently is good or whatnot. But yeah, so I don't know if you got anything to say on that, but
I think, well, I just know like when we first started, there was like a standard deal, like it's like going on LegalZoom. And you know, there's like a standard contract for your manager, a standard, like, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff has to be like, you know, you gotta add to it, or you gotta change this up, like, you know. So like basically most deals in the 90s was like the standard 8-album deal. So you sign for 8 albums, you may make it, you may, I don't know too many people. I mean hip hop groups made it past 4, like 4 or 5 with the same label, you know, like if you made it past 4 or 5, like, and that has a lot to do with the way music was put out, because if you take a Tribe or somebody like that, or even us at the time, like albums didn't come till like every 4 years or every 5 years. So like that pace was different, and the way that record labels would put out your music, like a record label was not expecting you to put out a record. I think if you would have been trying to put out a record every year, or every like twice a year, like how people are doing it now, I think a record label would be like, you're crazy, we can't do this, you know. But at the same time, it was like a lot going into it, because you had actual physical products, you had like the artwork, there was just a lot of things that was involved in, like, so I can understand the process being different. But yeah, it was a standard deal. I think that it started breaking up, but like the whole streaming thing and just like all this stuff is so different now I mean, the way that deals work. So I can't even say but like I said, like the 360 deal, like once you had like Jay-Z and Madonna and people like that started doing like the 360 deals, which I know Jay-Z paid up for his. He made some kind of rhyme about it, like I paid my 150, now I'm looking for 300 or something like that. Like I know Madonna did like her 360 deal was like, I think she probably was before Jay-Z, was like $20 million or something like that. And everybody's like, well, how'd she get like Madonna get, like, what is this? And then when you start seeing they do your merchandise, they get your tour money, like it's just an all-in situation. But you know, I think nowadays, like I said, if you are a brand and not an artist, like having that type of money up front, if you know what to do with it and you have the right team behind you, I think you can make it back, you know, like Birdman and Cash Money, like, I mean, they did 30, I think his first was like the $30 million deal, something like that. And now he's trying to get like $1 billion or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But
Wow.
yeah, like, so but I mean, it's a lot of work. You think about, okay, there's Cash Money, then there's Young Money, then, you know, so you're saying Lil Wayne, you're saying Nicki Minaj, you're saying Drake, you're saying there's a lot behind to why somebody's going to actually get that type of money. But yeah, I won't say that the 90s set it off, but I think the fluctuation started because once you started seeing like people re-sign, then it was like, oh, okay, like when Tribe started re-signing, then you're like, oh, I see a little change. Like, you know what I'm saying? You start seeing like people started to get a little money involved and start saying, okay, you know what, hip hop is here now, so you can negotiate a better situation. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, just, you know, it blew my mind when we were talking, like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, if you go gold or you go platinum, you know, that's like X number, you know, this is the amount that comes in from that. The label takes this percentage. And then from there, you start to see it just kind of turn into like very little money that the artist winds up with. And then, you know, from that point, then that's where you need to pay that initial, you know, money back from. And if you can't pay it back, then, you know, the label is just like, you know, we can't continue the relationship or whatever. And then sort of like, good luck getting signed with the next, you know. So that's just sort of like, that's like a piece of information that was very eye-opening to me, and that I'm sure, you know, especially from that time frame, is just like something that, I mean, it sort of has me wondering why, you know, when you think of like one-hit wonders and whatnot, people that like bands that came and go, and not just in hip hop, but like, you know, grunge, and, you know, think about all the music that was on the radio in the 90s that we all loved so much, that, you know, just hip hop aside, you know, where you're hearing these great bands and they're just coming and going, and there seemed to be like this huge flood of music, but it's just like one or two songs coming from them, and then you'd never hear from them again, you know. So a lot of times it just has me wondering, oh, were they not able to survive that, you know? So it's interesting to say the least. So Les, I don't know if you've got some perspective you want to throw in on the conversation, or
you know, not much experience with labels or signings on my side, but besides just witnessing and hearing about it and reading about it, and knowing the artists that did get deals and what happened. Like Amy said, she had a deal with MCA at one point, and so early on we were able to see what that meant, and, you know, and then just hearing rumors about other artists getting shelved, really talented artists that, you know, and it was always like, what's that? And they're like, well, this artist doesn't want them to compete with them, so the label's going to shelf the new guy. And you know, it all, to me the whole thing with labels and record deals is just, you know, like, a lot of it I think is meant to like take what you got. You know, those contracts are set up to take all you have, you know. And unless you really got a great lawyer that can help you sort through that, and unless you have the willingness to look through that and then negotiate, you know, you won't get the deal that you want. Like Brown was saying, it's really about, you know, and then, you know, some people just won't negotiate either. They'll just say no. So I think there's something to be said now for being your own label or just going independent. You know, I think if there's a lot more freedom, and you at least know where your money's going, and even if it's, you know, and what it costs and what it actually takes. Like we've learned a lot putting out, you know, Amy's album coming soon. We've learned so much about how much it costs for marketing, for, you know, publicists, for submitting to playlists, and all of that costs a lot of money. And then we've also seen like the dark side of it too, where like for a time there in Amy's earlier stuff, the playlisting, the false playlists that were happening for a while, and the bots and things like that, and and then losing hundreds and thousands of views that you suddenly are just gone. And so we've seen all that, and I think it just it helped us. And we've had the people say, hey, give us $3,000 and we'll get you a million views on your video. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we've seen how that turned out. And so it's just like, I come from that perspective. I'm very observant, so I just kind of just watched how these things come out. And then what I think has been the best for me is just like, wow, we've paid a lot in investing into ourselves, right? But we now have the experience, which is invaluable.
Yeah.
And we see it. And then and then we can go and collaborate with somebody like Brown and work it out, and just know how to approach a situation like that. Because we were super excited to work with them in the beginning, and when we found out, it was we were like, we don't want to mess this up, but let's do this the right way,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that
no, exactly what you were saying about it's just like the you got to try things out, knowing that like sometimes that's just the cost of education, right? Like it's the cost of putting it out there and seeing what happens, because if something huge happens, then you're like, well, that's a good investment. If something bad happens, then you're like, well, that wasn't kind of what I expected, but how else are you going to know, right? So
and I like although it hurts, right? It always hurts. If you lose money, if somebody tries to screw you over, that hurts, but that's life too.
Yeah.
And then you just get stronger because of it, and you get wiser. So I think that's good.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great attitude to have, for sure. So Pippin, we should roll the other clip, and then we can kind of riff off of that, and then we can wrap a little bit afterwards. So okay, here we go.
When people talk about why is rap different from the 80s and 90s compared to now, because when it was the 80s and 90s, nobody was getting paid. The whole thing was like, we're in the park and we're just doing it, just have fun. Like, it wasn't an expectation. We're not making no money. So we're saying whatever we want to say about the police, we'll say whatever we want to say about whatever. But then once the money comes involved, we start compromising. People don't understand, like, a record deal is just a bad fucking loan. It's a terrible loan that you get, You wind up just like sacrificing yourself almost for somebody else's longevity, I guess. What do you want out of it? Is fame what you're trying to get out of it? Are you trying to make the best music? Are you trying to be a visionary and bring on something that's different? I think the hard part is being honest with yourself, but that's the hardest part in life in general, is being honest with yourself and just kind of saying, am I trying to bullshit people, or is this something that I'm really proud and I really can stand behind what I'm doing? For me, I have a push and a drive to just want to do more. I just work hard.
Okay. You can escape out of that. Okay. And I think we're back, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. So at this point, I want to like kind of just take like a hard turn into this like world of creating independently. And like Brown said in that clip, it's like, what do you want out of it? Amy, when you were talking earlier, you were talking about like, man, I love this, but some days it would be so wonderful if somebody just had my full marketing, fully dialed, taken care of. They could just go and do that. I could just focus on being creative, right? Les, you could just focus on, creating the amazing music. You guys come together and do your thing. But would you say that that's one of the main pieces that's like if I could just get like the marketing piece working full throttle, then this whole independent thing wouldn't be that much of a, I don't want to say it's a struggle, but like it's hard. You've got your album that you're about to release, right? And like you just spent all this creative energy on it, and now you've got to go and do the work to put it all out there and put all the energy and resources and everything at that. So what else would you say is like sort of missing? Is it marketing? Is it something else, in terms of like this independent style of what you guys are doing?
I would say, yeah. So right now I'm wearing so many different hats, like managing the process of finishing the album, turning it in, getting the artwork for the cover, my brother helping me with different aspects of the administrative stuff. But at the same time, we're checking mixes and masters in the car and going, oh no, this needs to be turned down. And then, the last few music videos I've done, I've directed myself and produced. And it's not even because I'm trying to say, hey, I'm a director now and that's what I do. It's because of budget and more because of like, this is what I could afford. And this is what I can do. I'm just going to have to get creative with it. And what I've learned is doing that, I think I've created better work than I've done in the past, because it wasn't so much about the budget and just like having someone put it together for me. It was about me kind of like really committing to the song. But yeah, right now, I'm not going to lie, I have a lot of pressure in regards to like a 14 song album coming in November that I would love for everyone to listen to. I am trying out working with different people for marketing. But my budget like varies from month to month. It's not like I have like a huge investment that I could just go, hey, here's like 20 G's to like go crazy with, because that would totally help, because that means my music would just be played in front of so many more people. Mm-hmm. And what the struggle for me is that like, because I'm doing so many other things, I'm not focused on going live, making more content for TikTok or, which is a really great place to connect. So like now that the album's done, I was telling my brother, I have to like switch gears into just being present now. Like I just went to see my friends perform at Ace Hotel last night in Palm Springs. And, that's the first time I've been able to do that in a few months, maybe longer. And just being there, connecting with other artists, was really awesome. Just being on the scene a little more is like, that's part of your networking too, is just being out there and introducing yourself. And the other aspect is performing live. Like, most of the artists that I like, that I fall in love with, I see them live first. And then I go, oh shoot, I'm going to have to check out everything they've ever done from like the first song till now. That's as cool. Opposed to just like someone sends me a song. Because I love artists that present themselves one way and then you see them live and it's like a whole nother thing. You're just like, by the way, Brown is one of those people. He's like super chill and quiet. Then you see him perform and he's like going crazy, like super jumping up and down, But that's what I love about artists. And I do wish I had like a team of like 20 people that just focused on me, so that all I could do is focus on recording like, and my live show, that would be great. That's like a dream of mine. So the way I look at it is I'm working really hard right now so that one day I can do that. And just, you know, focus more on the music and not all the like other side of things. But I do think God has me in this season right now so that when I do get there, I can know if everyone's doing their job correctly. So like, wait a minute, I've done this before. You're not doing this right. Like, I need you to be more on it. So I'm kind of just, that's my way of staying positive about it all, is that like, I'm basically in my own university of, you know, DIY music university, how to do this, you know, and so that at some point I kind of just understand the ins and outs of it all. But yeah, I just don't want to lie and say like, oh, this is so cool and easy. Because yeah, it is a struggle, but it's a struggle that I love to embrace because I love what I do. So it's like, it's a struggle, but I love it so much. So at the same time, it's kind of like a challenge that I'm like, really, it's a struggle. All right, I'm going to do this. Like, it makes me want to prove myself even more because it is a struggle. So it's kind of like, I don't know, artists, we love pressure. I don't know what's wrong with us, but we love the stress. Like, I don't know if you guys, if Roma, if you feel like that or if you do less, but
Oh man.
there's something about the pressure that makes the best work happen.
I think like kind of just like this whole question, like I'm kind of thinking of it. It's almost like when you have friends that are, let's say, compare a friend that's single compared to a friend that's in a relationship. That's if I look at being an independent artist, because like the person that's single, like you'll hear them like, I can never be like, you know, and they'll say how much they love it. Like they'll say like, oh man, I love being, because like, you know, maybe if you go into their house, they don't like their stuff touched and they like to know where everything's at, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're hands on with every little single part of their lives, you know what I'm saying? So when somebody comes in and has something to do with it, like it's almost like they feel interrupted with their flow or something like that. Like I just had these friends that like they'll have all these problems, like they'll be like, oh, like, you know, they came in, they took their shoes, like, dude, they take their shoes off and they come to people's houses, like what's like, it'll be all these little things. And so like I think like when you're an independent artist, like you want to be in control of everything. So it's like you're almost skeptical, like you don't want to do it, but you're almost skeptical when somebody has that control over certain parts of whatever you're doing. So if it's your video, you're like, no, that's not right. And then like, so it's like if you are with the label or you are with something, I think like, I don't know, I think it would be hard to give up that one part. Like you just like to just say like, okay, I'm going to give you full control of my video and I'm not going to worry about it because I trust in you. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like, I think when you're with the label, like, and you have that, there's going to be a whole, there's just parts where you just have to trust people, because if you're going to be concentrated on music, you got to let them do what they're going to do so that you can kind of keep the consistency or keep the flow of everything. So I don't know, it gets tricky because like I said, like I think a lot of independent artists are like, we're like single and like, you know, like we're like, hey, like, you know what I'm saying? We want to do ourselves and don't, you know, like I could do that. And like, and so it gets kind of tricky. I don't know if like, and then, you know, there's not as many labels as it was, let's say in the 90s, where there's like, man, there were so many labels that you go to, like it's so narrowed down now. And then it's narrowed down to the ones that probably would take care of you, like you know, if you're on a stone's throw, or if you're on, like Amy was saying, like a brain feeder, or you're on certain, you know, like these different labels, like they have, like they kind of look out for their artists, but then at the same time, they don't sign a lot of people. Like their list of who they sign is very limited, because, you know, they're trying to keep their artist caliber to a certain type of level, which is good, which is great. But, you know, with labels, I think like, I'm pretty sure when Amy signed her deal and she was doing the girl group, like what an A&R did at that time to compared to what an A&R is now. Like an A&R was a person that like took you, made suggestions, hey, whether it was to the makeup, whether it was for the clothes, whether it was for like how your songs was done, like there was somebody to just be there every step. I think like an A&R now is more or less like a person that's looking for somebody, but he's looking for somebody who's already got it all together. It's not, they're not looking to basically put you together or assign this musician or just like take care of you like that. So I think throughout time, the positions of what people were labeled as is just different because, you know, the A&R became the host with the most, like, okay, I'm going to New York and they're going to hook you up with the A&R at Sony. Oh shit, we're going to go out, like, you know what I'm saying, steak dinner. That type of like party is not like the, oh, you know what, I would suggest this, I got this makeup artist, I got this hairstylist, and just the buildup of the artist is not the same and the positions is not the same. So I don't know, it's just hard, like I said, I think it's just the deal. If you got your, but I think the most part that I've just learned is getting the team together. And that's not easy because on your side, you may have to go through 10 people before you find the right one. And then that's like, it's heartbreaking because, you know, 4 or 5 in, you're thinking like, man, I found the right person. I finally found it. Then it's like, oh shit, they were terrible. I gotta get rid of them.
They start out good and then
So then
you find out. Yeah.
It's like, do you have that inside of you to go find another person that you think is going to work for you or see your vision or just be able to ride it out, you know, through the thing. But
and also is like, you know, then if you're like on your 4th or 5th person and you're thinking in your head, like, okay, am I just being too picky? Does this dream person like not exist? Or, you know, like you start to get in your head about it too, you know? So,
you know what I found out? What I found out was us doing that with certain people that handle different tasks. You really got to give people a chance sometimes. And sometimes it's like I'm really quick to write off people fast, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've been like really trying to come to terms with that because I don't think it's always a good idea because, you know, so the people that I would have written off for whatever slight or whatever, ended up being like, oh, they're actually really great and they're good because they are this way. And so that's something that we've learned. And we're like, this person may not be the most personable person or friendly, but that's what makes them good at what they're doing. And we actually don't
have to like everyone that's working for you personally. They just have to be really good at what they do and respect you. Obviously they can't be, you know, disrespecting you, but you don't have to be like best friends with them. Yeah.
And so Amy and I, like, you know, we've had people like, and the other funny thing that I should bring up is that person may introduce you to 2 other people. Maybe you don't work with the one person that you're like, oh, this is terrible. But along the way, they introduce you to this person who's actually really great. And then you're like, oh man, I'm so glad that happened. So it's like, you know, it's a fun journey for sure. It can be hard though.
Yeah, that's a super good point. Like, that exactly, it's like all about, you know, making connections with people and finding people that you know, work well with, or, you know, like you were saying, it's either you know, maybe they're not 100% what you would want, but man, they really get the job done. And when you just zoom out a little bit, you realize that's really what's first and foremost, is that I need this to be done. And it's fine if if there's a couple of things that aren't checked off on that list, you know.
You're okay.
Yeah. So so I think at this point too, I want to talk you know, just while we're focused in on like this, like creating independently, you know, Amy and Les, you guys have been minting your music for a little while. Brown, you know, was just got his start last week. He's got something, you know, coming up in a couple of weeks. What can you guys sort of share with me about that experience, knowing that, like, you know, it's like from the first part of our conversation, when we were talking about like origin stories and kind of getting started and everything, taking us through, you know, the 90s and the industry at that point, and then just working independently, and now being able to mint something and have it, you know, and have it do well, or perform differently than, you know, than if you were to just go with streaming. It's just kind of like about finding these different types of audiences. You know, talk to me a little bit about your experiences with that, and just sort of what you think about that, and, you know, the future of that as well. Les, and you can lead if you want.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because I've actually been thinking about it a lot, because we got into Web3, you know, as they call it, and crypto. You know, I got into crypto before that. I had, you know, Ethereum and some Litecoin and made some money here and there. But then that led to NFTs. And I think the good thing that we learned during a time when Twitter was really like the new frontier for the NFTs, and especially for music NFTs. You know, there was NFTs for artwork, that when it became apparent that music could be shared that way, there was some really great startup companies that came out, and there was some really great people that were helping learn about that. We got our start from Mark Clive Lowe, who really took us under his wing, and we joined his creator club. And basically, it's like all we talked about was like a group of 10 of us. We'd meet weekly and talk about what is an NFT and how can you do it, and how do we do this? How do we actually put out an NFT? So we learned from, and you know, and there were platforms that were really desirable that you want to be on, like Sound XYZ was one of them, Catalog was the other, you know, and then there was like Royal, and you know, their profit sharing model, and you know, it was all these things, and it was just like, it was a lot to learn about. And then how do you get people to buy your NFTs, you know? And you know, Twitter was like the place to be. Now it's X, right? But Twitter was like, you know, let's make a space, let's get to know people. We made a lot of friends on Twitter, and we went live. We did shows on, you know, Discord and Twitch, and we had to use OBS, as, you know, how to stream our Ableton session with Amy performing right here. And so it was like, we really had a great experience with that. And although I have to say, it's, as an independent artist, it's a full-time job as well. So it was like, wow, can we keep this up? You know, and the artists that we knew that were on there, you know, they were spending every single hour, waking hour on there. And it was after a while, you know, after a year of that, there was burnout. And everybody talks about it. We got burned out, and then we realized that we had to, you know, we had to make music. Yeah.
I think we got really into it because we sold out with the Run It NFT. We sold out with Go, but there was so much prep time to sell out. There was so many spaces I had to be a part of. And I bought tons of other people's NFTs to be supportive in hopes that they would support mine. And I thought that was great, you know, but I told Les, you know what, we're doing this so much that we're like, the album's not done. And I actually got to get back to like writing songs for the album. And I wasn't able to do both. At one point, I just said, I have to take a break and just write and get into like artist mode where I'm just writing and not like, because when you're on spaces and doing things like that, it's really fun getting to know people, but you're also using your energy for that, and you're not using it to create. Yeah. So it's like I'm one of those people that I can kind of like give my all with everything I do, and then I'd be exhausted. So I told him I want to focus on that. But another thing I noticed is that there's really dope collectors and investors who love music, and I think it's really great to get to know who these people are.
Yeah.
Because they're like, they could be like a record label in the sense if they keep supporting you and spending X, Y, and Z on your music. Or they could be just your biggest fan or somebody that would be on your team. But then on the other side of it, most of the artists that are doing NFTs that are not like from the Web2 world, I feel like it's more like artists supporting artists as opposed to fans supporting artists.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll support you if you support me. And so then it's just like artist to artist doing a favor, as opposed to like, do you really like my music? Are you a fan?
Yeah.
Or are you just doing me a solid and like helping me out? And I, as much as I love that and appreciate that, I really am trying to find my core audience right now and get to know their personalities and just seeing like who they are. Like that's where I'm at in my stage of my career. So it's like, of course, I'd love other artists to support me, but you know, they're not going to be the ones that care about all the like other stuff I'm doing because they're focused on their artistry, you know? So it's kind of like, that would be my takeaway on that. But I do think like what Romai did, what Bootie did was like, with the stem player, it was next level.
That actually got me excited again, by the way, because I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, this is, and then I had to do a little catch up on the layer 2 and layer 3 with Ethereum. I was like, oh, I missed this whole section about it. But I really did like the idea of a stem player, and it's like that's the utility. That's always like the thing that everybody's like, well, what do you get when you buy an NFT? Well, here you go. Here's a really great utility. You get all the stems, and it's easy, and it looks cool in your wallet, and you know, and it's like, so I really it got me excited, and I think that there's definitely a future because of things like that, and because of like we're at this point now where all the things have been tried, some things didn't work, but now here's some things that are like, oh, this could actually really work, and it could work well, and it's like I really want to do that. I think the only barriers I see is just technology right now to the average person, you know. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I would say the moment we're like getting a wallet, connecting the wallet, you know, getting the wallet, transferring the money over to the wallet, connecting the wallet to a site, purchasing an NFT, you know, the moment those dots that are connected like become just super simple to the average person, I think that's when we'll see mass adoption happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen too. I really see it happening very soon. So I'm like, okay, hopefully we'll be ready for this. But you know, but we've learned, I mean, we had a recent drop that didn't go the same way that we had it go in the past, but we're also
had to turn in the album yesterday. So we just didn't have time to do as many spaces and connecting and promotion for it because we have deadlines on our end.
And it was hard.
But I didn't want to turn down the opportunity to just do it. So I was like, that's fine. I'm not really overthinking it at this point. I'm just grateful to have songs I can release as NFTs, and you know, I'm still grateful for the opportunity to meet people like you. And you know, just connect further with others that like really love music the way that we do. So
that's awesome. And I you know, likewise, for sure. And I also wanted to comment on your on the music videos and stuff that you guys have been putting out. I mean, I think that I was having this conversation with Brown the other day about having, you know, we were talking about doing this podcast, and should we do it through Zoom or should we pre-record it and then I edit it in a certain way. And, you know, he was talking about how, you know, just kind of there's an element that you could miss, you know, when things look like too slick, you know, and it's nice to have the music videos that look slick, but it's also nice to have ones that are, you know, even some of the ones that you do for TikTok and are, you know, you're like running with your iPhone in your hand, like you're connecting directly with your audience that way, you know? So it's like, that's a real thing when I think it was Go. And I don't know if you were like on the beach or something, but you're like running and you have your phone up here and then you're singing down here. And like, that's fun, you know, and we feel like we're having a conversation, like a FaceTime with you while you're performing, you know? So there's like, there's just an element to to being able to, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with it, but you guys are just doing
No,
it
what
right.
you said, what you said makes I mean, the people that I see now, I can't say I'm like the TikTok expert at all, but just watching it and the people that I see that really do good on TikTok, it's like, it's because they do average everyday stuff, but they do so much content like you. So it's like the people really know them. Like, I think like TikTok wants to know you. Like, so it's like every little thing that you do, like if you're sitting on the toilet, like, and the toilet paper roll was turned up the other way, you like it, your toilet paper to come. It's like those moments, like your TikTok people is like, they can identify with that. So it's like, I think it's like a lot of like TikTok people really want to identify with you in general. So I just say TikTok because basically like that's kind of like the one right now. I think that if people is on there as far as music and just whatever is going on, it gets a lot across. So yeah, I just think that like like when you do live stuff sometimes, like it's just little moments that if it's too scripted, like you're not going to capture that. So those are little things that I think people want to know now. Like they want to see like, oh, okay, this person's real, and this was today, and I was luckily I was there when it happened, or like I seen it with my own eyes, and then they go tell people, like, because it's just so much information out there that gets that's processed. So it's like the people that's there when things are happening, like they're talking about it. So I think that's to your advantage of the live type situation. But
yeah, for sure. And then you've got the music video like you all did for Suddenly, which is it's just so beautiful and dreamlike and cinematic, and all of the things are just, I mean, Amy, you've got the golds, like you've got I think Buddha Supreme makes an appearance, right, in it, and for Truth Seekers,
the bartender.
Yeah. And so you've got these, that music video, which is very cinematic and very planned out, which has its own place, so it's just sort of nice to be able to, like, see all these different sides of you. So whatever you guys are doing, it's working. And I know it's an awful lot of work, but it's great. And I'm a fan. So
thank you for mentioning that, especially about the Go video, because we had to come up with something, and we're out of funds to invest into a video. And I literally told Amy, I said, like, why don't we just do it on the phone? Why not? Let's just try it once. And we got this thing we're going to on Thursday, or this thing we're going to on Friday. We'll be at the beach on Saturday. And then the beach shots are funny because I didn't know she was going to do that. We were trying to get into the beach to a birthday party, but the parking was full, and I was stuck in the street, and we're missing the sunset. I'm like, Amy, just go out and run and go do what you got to do. I'll stay here in the car. And she did that. So it ended up being really great. Oh, we lost focus. And it ended up being really great. I thought it was like, wow. And I like that, that was my favorite too. So when you went like this and down, I'm like, okay, there's Amy. And it went with the songs. So
totally great.
And my friend was like, how did you come up with the concept? That was cool.
Right.
I go,
and then you're like, okay.
I just did what I had to do to get it out in time.
No
it
concept.
Wasn't like a creative, like, I woke up with this idea, like, I got this idea,
Yeah, that was your opportunity to say, well, Scorsese called me, and we sat down together, and
the creative team,
hanging out with us. Yeah.
Right. So funny.
Yeah.
Right on. So Brown, you're new to the NFT space. You've got your stem player that came out. We dropped the remix. The people that have the stem player are getting another drop that's associated with that. And then you got a new thing coming out on the 24th. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so
Put you on the spot.
I mean, I think like what I could say, because as I think in my zone, or I can say with what I'm working with, because basically coming from a group or working with two groups to like what I'm doing now, like it was easier being in the groups because it was just like, it was content that was already there. So like, I didn't really have to, not saying I didn't have to do much, but like, if I want to just not really be fully seen out there, I didn't have to be fully seen. So it was like, I was able to, like if I was doing from something for the store, I didn't necessarily have to be seen. Or if I was doing something for, the group, I didn't necessarily have to be that focus point. But now that I've come to like doing my own stuff now, it's just different because I never really wanted to be like that face and try to put my like be out there like that. And so now me having to adjust to that is kind of weird for me because it's never like I never had to do it. So like all my like social like IG and all that stuff, it's like basically new. Like I just probably started like a year ago. Like all my other stuff is like been there for a while, but like the stuff that I'm doing for myself has only been there for like maybe 2 years at the most. So with that said, it's like consistency is like the biggest thing that I'm just trying to get grasp of, because it's not just, if it was just you putting out music, then it would be one thing, but like to like schedule things that the DSPs are lined up to make sure that you're able to do, if you're going to do videos, like the artwork, like all these things are like have to be in unison for just one song, you know what I'm saying? Like just to do one song. So when you're talking about an album, it's so many pieces that has to fit together to basically give it a fair chance, or what you would think is a fair chance. So doing the NFTs, and like we had did one with Stack Machine, like with Mike Rim and
That's right, yeah.
and Sean Crystal, like we had did some stuff. And so we were kind of playing around in the field, just kind of see what it was. But at the time, like it was just so many people that would say something to you, and you just like, I was like, okay, yeah, like I hear what you're saying, but like you trying to ask the question, like people were talking like so above my head that I just couldn't understand. I was like, man, do I really have time to just kind of grasp the information, or do I just kind of focus on something? So I can say like at that time my focus wasn't really there, but now doing it for myself and realizing like, okay, like, and as I always say, like, I don't think you should think yourself as an artist. You got to think of yourself as a brand. And so like me thinking of myself as a brand, I'm like, okay, I have to at least crack every window that I can see to let some airflow come in. And so so I just look at it as like the NFT is just like another window or another room that I just kind of, I gotta see what's up with it because it's there. Like, so it's like, I think as an independent artist, it's like, you have to kind of take advantage of the things that are there to see, because you don't know what's going to work. You don't know what, as Les was saying, like what people you're being introduced to. So the whole NFT thing, like being with, with Pippin and you and Finnegan, just like it's a whole new cast of people that I've met through just doing the NFT. Like I wouldn't have met these people if I probably was doing something else, which is great. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a whole nother opportunity of revenue, of meeting people. And, you don't know where one thing leads to the next, like Les said.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also like, it's kind of wild too, because even though it's different, you can kind of compare it to like the early days of YouTube, where you've got people that have been doing it from the start and they have like millions and millions of followers and all this, stuff that comes with it now. And it's like, just being early and here creating early, even if you're not putting out every single song that, or like if you're picking and choosing what to drop. And I think that's the other thing about producing music that you can mint and you know, have as NFTs is that they're not necessarily, you can have songs that are in collections and that can be an album, but you don't have to like put out the entire album. You can start the collection and then build it out with the music that you want to do. So it's almost like you can build that album in real time, you know. That might be nightmare fuel for you guys. I don't know if that's like the worst idea that I'm ever putting out there, but I think it's
not
sort
too
of
bad, actually.
yeah.
It's not too bad of an idea. I have to agree with, though. I mean, I think it's worth exploring, and that it's still very early.
Yeah.
And it's you know, when make it work for you the way it works. And I think everybody understands, you know, where we are in this, you know, like, so we kind of were worried about jumping back in with it. And then it was just like, yeah, actually, it's not that big of a deal. Everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's just exploring and having fun. And this is a fun thing. So, you know, I think it's a good time. And I think it's, I can't wait to see what's coming up on the 24th. And
Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
to hear this.
I just like that, like, our personal collaborator friend, you know, has come out with like a stem player that I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen anybody else do it that way.
Yeah. And
that's fresh. Yeah.
one thing everyone's forgetting to say is that if you own an NFT of Brown's or mine, less, and you know, something hits off in the next few years, like
They become
years down
valuable.
the line, that's going to go up in value.
Yeah.
And now you have a piece of art that that's going to
Yeah.
continue to go up in value, that you could sell or trade,
Yeah.
or that you could just have that, say that you own like a piece of art. And I think that's what attracted me to NFTs in the first place, is like being able to own digital art that, like, I could say, hey, I got this from them when they were just starting, and now look at them, like they're this person. So
Totally.
I still think there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to make money even with music NFTs. You just have to be patient. Like, it's just like when you invest, it's like, just hold, don't move your stock, you know, because you just never know. Like, few years, it's gonna go up.
Yeah, for sure. And also to your point that, you know, you could come out with a song, mint 1,000, list 100 to sell, and then hold on to the 900 or whatever, and see how, you know, and see like years down the line, if you just start to, you know, release and I have some extras from my first mint ever 5 years ago or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that could be something that's incredibly hot, you know, that happens. So
That would be like, that would be like shoe heads, you know what I'm saying? Like sneaker heads, like
time capsule,
hold,
yeah.
hold some Jordans in their closet, and then all of a sudden pop out like, yeah, I got these, boy. You know,
Here you go, 5 G's right here.
50,000 now though. They 50,000.
2013.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they still have that new sneaker smell, you know.
I used to collect comics that I remember buying too, because I'd put one that I wouldn't read in the plastic away,
You're a
and
collector.
the other one I would
Yeah.
read. I'd be like, oh, I got the brand mint one over here though.
Right on. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and then Amy and Les, I want it, before we, you know, kind of wind things down here, I'd love for you guys to talk about what you've got coming up. I
you.
saw an Instagram post that I think something's going on this weekend, right? I don't know what you want to talk about, but I'll leave that to you.
Okay. I have an album dropping in November. The original release date is November 10th. That may change to like November 14th. I'll know by tomorrow, but it's a 14-song album. I've spent the last 2 years working on it. And it's just something I'm ready to let the world in on, because I'm ready to start doing some live shows. So I would love if, you know, anyone just stay tuned and like get connected with me. I have so much of a diverse range of music I'm releasing. So I'm excited I feel like it's the first time people will get to know who I am as a full-on artist, like all the styles that I'm into, because I didn't just stick with one style. I did everything that I love in one album. And then on the 14th, I guess the day after tomorrow, because whatever. Yep, the day after tomorrow, I'm releasing a music video for Spacecraft. And I'm really excited about that. Shot it here down the street at the skate park and all local 818 areas. And also still very DIY, but like with my friends and I kind of collaborated on it.
We brought Total in it.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this music video because I just feel like it's who I am right now, and it's fresh. It's got something different. So I'd love for you guys to check that out as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
and I gotta say too that the way that you guys tease out your music videos with, you know, just showing like snapshots, you know, or behind the scenes, or, you know, just images of you, Amy, it's just so awesome. It's like, it's perfect the way you guys are working on it. So I really love being able to watch, you know, how everything develops. And I think people also get inspired from it too. You know, they see like what you're working on and whatnot, and what, you know, what works for you, and people get inspired by that. So that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I did I miss anything? I don't know if Brown, if you okay, we're
No.
All right.
We never we just want
shout out to the Suddenly remix. That is so dope, man.
Hey.
I want to go to a house club now just to hear it.
I really do play that song like once a day.
So
at least
fire,
once
bro.
a day.
It's so fire.
Fire.
Cool.
I love the video that you play where you're like, here's where I'm gonna be rapping, by the way, right here.
Yeah, I love your flow on it. And by the way, one of my best friends since I was like 12 years old listened to Suddenly extended mix last night, and she had never heard it. I thought she did. She was like, "That's my favorite song."
Yeah.
I was like, "It is." She's like, "Yeah, that's my favorite song." I'm like, "Dude, that's awesome."
Wait till you hear the remix. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play her the remix, but I still get great feedback on Suddenly. It's I feel like it's a timeless song.
Yeah.
And so is the remix.
Totally.
It doesn't have like a period of where it's going to get outdated. I think it's continuing to grow. So
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
We started to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure I said
just
that.
got a little fanned out really quick.
I gotta say, like, you know, one of the things that I love about that song, Amy, I think when we first were talking on Twitter Spaces, you know, I was talking to you about how it just like kind of harkens back to like these days of like the lyrics and everything, even like just the like left my number in your pocket, you know, like that. I just like it's just so innocent, you know, and I don't know. I love everything about that song, and it brings back so much of just like smooth living and just like summertime and just, you know, chilling out with your friends, going to the bar, you know, and just it's just such a great, it's just got such a great vibe, and like you said, just super timeless. So well done, you guys. Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah. No, I wanna say, you know, I'm only here to try to connect dots. And so like, man, I appreciate like Amy, like as soon as Amy and Les like showed up, like my thing was like, okay, like we're gonna get you in with Santana, we gotta get you in with Greg. Like so it's like my thing is like everybody like should like, as far as like what I'm doing, I want everybody to know everybody, and like there be some type of support. So whether it be music, whether it be videos, whether it be whatever, like I think the connection of people is the most important. So this is the next step, you know. This is Process Live, as I always say. This is Process Live is real, you know what I'm saying? Like this is like you know, they introduced us to the NFT thing, and I mean introduced me to the NFT thing as far as what's going on and help with the STEM player. So I'm like, hey, like you guys put me on your wave, like come do the streaming on my side and kind of see what's going on. So it's like, I think we're all like, we're just, you know, it's about, we're trying to share ideas, we're trying to share new things and trying to see what other people are into, because I mean, like I said, like if as long as we're going to stay independent for right now, it's like most important to at least know what the other person does and what they're capable of doing, because you just never know, like that like let's say, like, man, that person could introduce you to another person, and then like within a year or something, your life is completely different from where you were, you know. So it's, I'm just glad that we're all here together, because like this is completely different. Like the people here are not like, it wasn't like somebody brought us together, or like it was just like this is very organic, and we're here to try to create something new and talk about something. And I'm glad Amy and Les was able to like talk about their projects, their record and everything that's going. I hope much success. And for you, Kristen and Pippin, just like, you know, this is YouTube, and like we're opening up some doors, man.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. So that's what I'm here for.
October
Awesome.
24th for your next single too, right?
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just like really like I realize like I'm not gonna flood it, but I feel like
I'll flood it. I'm gonna flood it.
We'll flood it.
but I feel
Don't
like
worry.
it's like trying to get into the space. I'm realizing that I just got to do music, and like right now I just got to let people kind of know what I've been doing, because some of the stuff is like, it's just been there. I just never really put it out, because I, you know, out of respect to what I was in at the time, I felt like I needed to be concentrated on that. So now my mind is just like, okay, I just got to let people know, like, it's been things that's going on. So this is it's the time.
We love it.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We love
Congrats.
being even the small part that we're on in on this. So it's amazing to watch.
Super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and Amy, I'll just throw this out there. Like, I don't know when we're gonna be in the area next, but you know, if you've got ideas and you want to do a music video, I'm game. You know, we'll bring the cameras and the legs to move around with, you know. And
Oh, nice. I'm always
and I know you got a camera team that you work with, but you know, in case they're tied up or something, or you just, you know, want to work together or whatever. Yeah, just
you.
we'll connect with you guys.
Awesome.
But yeah, you three are a powerhouse. I hope that someday you work together again, because this was just like, you hit it out of the park, all of you. So it's awesome. I look forward to something new coming up. You know, in between all of the newness that you guys are constantly all putting out anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. We're way over on time. I think I promised to keep this around an hour, but the conversation was good. I hope some people got a lot out of it for sure. We'll be, once again, dropping that process episode 2 featuring Bootie Brown tomorrow on Pharcyde TV, YouTube. This new show, Process Live, is going to happen every Thursday at 3 p.m. PST right here on Pharcyde TV. And just to throw this out there too, next week, I'm going to host this guy that I know. I met him actually in the Web3 space. His name is Jason Charnick, and he is a producer for Adam Sandler's Happy Madison Productions, but he's also doing work in Web3. So he's kind of bridging the gap like a lot of us are. And I think that's kind of necessary, honestly, to be doing, is working in Web2, working in Web3. You know, his particular bag is a lot like what we're doing in Film 3 in particular. So he's creating his own content. I'll host him next week. And, we'll just keep the conversation going. So, I just want to give a couple shout outs real quick. Shout out to GameStop, their NFT marketplace. Shout out to Loop Exchange. Definitely a shout out to Layer 2 Loop Ring. Shout out to the Film 3 community and the Film 3 squad. Super awesome people over there. And then, of course, shout out to Pharcyde TV. And all of the amazing creators over there doing just nonstop work weekly between the Ink Pulp podcast, Truth Seekers, Loft Radio, DJ Augie. I love that guy. I love the energy that he brings to his DJ sets. You know, that channel is going to go 24/7. That's the goal. I know it. And we're here to help. So we're on this ride. So let's go. Right.
Thank you.
So yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Take
Thank you.
care.
All right.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.